Good evening, welcome. The hour being after 6:45, it is my high honor and privilege to call the April 13th, 2023 School Committee meeting to order. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Johnny Carson's playing Reno tonight, so you're stuck with me. We're one more sleep away from April vacation, so we're going to move on to our second order of business, recognition, which is a crucial initial part of our school committee process. This evening, we are proud to recognize Ms. Jackie Rem, a Bird Middle School teacher, awarded the 2023 NELMS Promising Educator Award. You have some information about that in your packet. I see Mr. O'Leary is here to introduce her, I believe, so we'll let you take it away.
Hi, thank you, school committee. So I'm thrilled to be here to call out the fact that NELMS recognized something that we've known all along, that Ms. Jackie Ream, our 6th grade English teacher, is a promising practitioner. So the Promising Practitioner Award by NELMS, New England League of Middle Schools, recognizes teachers that are at the beginning of their career that are just phenomenal. I mean, I just can't say that. I'm going to embarrass you all night, Ms. Ream. That, they make a positive difference and they really make great community connections and try to improve constantly and are really just bringing innovative ideas to our students, like a lot of project-based learning, student ownership, really student-driven activities. From the day I met Ms. Ream, I realized that we had something special here. She really finds new ways every day to bring her English curriculum to our students, especially in the district as our English curriculum continues to evolve and really kind of take new directions. She is a great leader, even in her relatively early part of her career, of really shaping what that will look like for our students in the future. So I couldn't be more proud of Ms. Ream for her work with the English department, but also Ms. Ream has taken the lead on our social emotional learning committee, and every day she comes with great ideas that I love to help her put into practice and just make our school a more welcoming and inclusive place for all of our learners and all of our students. So NELMS, they absolutely got this one right. Ms. Ream is a promising practitioner and then some, and I'm just super proud of you, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Ms. Ream.
Oh, gosh.
Step right up, please.
I just want to say thank you so much, and I just want you guys to know that I take great pride and honor in being an educator, especially for Walpole Public Schools, and it really is an honor to get to stand in front of the future in a classroom and just really help shape who they are and what they're growing into. So I take what I do really seriously, and I'm just really grateful to feel supported, especially by John, who listens to my crazy ideas. Usually, like, during lunch duty, I run up to him and I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And it's like my slides, and I'm like, what do you think? But I'm very grateful to be trusted in a position where we can try new things, especially as we're shaping to be one big school soon. So thank you so much.
Hold on, Jackie.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rem.
We need a gavel.
We as a board expect excellence, and when our educators achieve that, we love to bring you in here and be recognized. And I just want to commend you on your enthusiasm, which is completely apparent, that you love what you do, and we're very grateful to have you here in our district serving our students. So with that, questions or comments from the committee? Ms. Zanizio.
Hi.
Hi, Miss Ream, how many times do people respond when you tell them you teach middle school with something like, ugh, or like, you're brave?
There's usually like a moment of silence. But then after that, I think people get it, but you're right. It's a lot of people, especially people who were raising kids. They're like, oh, okay. And they try to read you first, but.
So as a former middle school educator, I would get that question a lot too. And I just think if you work in middle school and you love it, there's a reason why. And I just think like kids at the middle school level, they need teachers who love them for who they are and are working really hard to help them become who they're trying to become. So I'm just very grateful that you're there for them and helping them do that, because I'm just can tell by the way Mr. O'Leary is describing you and the way that you're speaking that you care about building relationships with students and wanting to make their experience good. So thank you very much.
Thank you. At the conference am I allowed to talk?
Yes, please.
Okay. At the conference, so many people from New England spoke about how, you are in middle school for a reason, and like the last thing someone wants to hear is that you ended up in middle school. You know, it should be like you're celebrating and honoring that most explosive part of a child's adolescence, and it's a joy to see that.
Mr. Breen?
I just want to say, piggybacking on that, as a high school teacher, there is a special place in heaven for middle school students.
Same for high school.
Very good. Other questions or comments from the committee?
I'll just say quickly that in my role, I get to work closely with new teachers in our induction program, and this is not a surprise to me. From the start, Ms. Ream's always been incredibly reflective and always centered on students and what's best for kids. So
Thank you so much,
congratulations.
Dr.
Well
Allen.
deserved.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Congratulations.
Seeing no other questions, thank you so much for coming. We congratulate you on your award, and as you continue your time here, we expect you back for other accolades as well. So keep
No
up the
pressure.
good work.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Our next order of business is our Walpole High School Student Report. The chair will call Representative Grace Ryan to give the report this evening.
Good evening, my name is Grace and I'm a senior at the high school. The school year is beginning to wrap up as term 4 began last week. Planning for spring semi-formal dances for freshmen and sophomores has begun, and the junior and senior prom tickets were sold this week. AP tests in the beginning of May are fast approaching, so AP classes and other classes alike are very busy finishing up their curriculums. On March 31st, senior Stephen Bond, Mr. Balkus, and I attended Student Government Day at the State House, where Stephen and I acted as members of the House of Representatives, where we debated and voted for laws regarding the voting age and school lunch requirements. Spring sports are in full swing at the high school, with sports competing in their first games last week. Notably, boys and girls tennis and track, as well as girls golf and girls lacrosse, all started off their seasons with a win. Clubs have also been very active at the high school. The dance company held their show on March 31st and April 1st. Speech and debate has attended their state competitions recently, and many members have qualified for national competitions. The film festival is currently finishing up filming and editing for the festival in May. Tri-M is holding their coffee house on April 28th, and Best Buddies will hold their annual dinner dance tomorrow. Student Council is currently busy planning the final events of the year and surveyed students last week at lunch in order to determine student interest. Also last week, Student Council attended their last Southeastern Massachusetts Association of Student Councils conference of the school year, where students received awards and learned new skills and workshops. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ryan. Any questions for Representative Ryan? Mr. Nizio?
Are we seeing Grace again before the end of the school year?
I'm not sure. I think this,
I believe we may have you back
One more time.
One more time, just before
And-
you commence.
For now, I'm just going to ask Grace, do you know your plans next year?
I do not yet. Not yet.
Keep us posted.
I will. Thank you.
Well, on this beautiful spring evening, I know there may be a lot for a high school senior to tackle, but thank you very much for being with us and offering up your report.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to new business. We have Department Chair Mimi O'Malley will present a science update. Come on down, Mimi. Thank you very much.
Good evening, thank you for having me. For some reason, my glasses are MIA, so if I have to look at my notes, I might have to stick my sunglasses on. Apologize for that, but they just disappeared on me. So a couple of things in general for the science department. We have a couple new staff at the middle school and the high school. I always like working with new staff. They always bring some great new instructional practices and ideas. So that's been a nice addition to both the high school and the middle school. The middle school science team is continuing to work on becoming more cohesive as we plan for getting into just one building in the coming next 2 falls. One of the things that we did this spring, in February, we held a combined 6 to 12 science department meeting, which I thought was great because we got to talk about transition issues between 8th grade and 9th grade. And we also talked a lot about skills practice, different types of, whether we were talking about graphing skills or problem solving or developing an investigation, some of the science and engineering skills. Teachers talked about what it looked like in their classrooms. So the middle school people could hear how it extended into the high school, and then the high school teachers really got an idea of the things that are definitely incorporated into the middle schools classrooms, so that they could build on those skills. We also talked about concept struggles, so the types of things that kids struggle with at middle school. It was nice for those teachers to hear it's still something that we work on diligently at the high school. So I got a lot of really positive feedback from all the teachers about that meeting, and I'm hoping to continue to do that next year as well, because it seemed to be really nice for people to put names with faces and have somebody that they could call on if they needed help with, et cetera. Focusing on the high school, a couple of things. We continue to be looking at the Physics 1 course for our 9th graders. They seem to be really doing well with that course, and it seems to be a very good foundational course. Then going into chemistry in 10th grade, and then biology in 11th grade. Starting with that more of a concrete class, then they really get some good foundation. I know that they do a lot of work on graphing, analyzing graphs in that physics course, which allows them to look at the heat graphs and the solubility curves in chemistry. And then the bonding that they learn in chemistry is definitely helping them out with understanding DNA structure and organic compounds, which are some of the more abstract things in biology. So we're still very happy with that change several years in. We've been able to update a lot of our labs and equipment. I have a couple of things to show you, thanks to our capital budget funds that we received this year. And the other thing that we did this year at the high school, this is, I think, our 3rd or 4th year. We started this during the pandemic. It's called the March Mammal Madness, and it's very similar to March Madness that they do with basketball, but it's a competition among different mammals. It's established by the University of Arizona. Kids put together brackets, so they choose all the animals that are going to compete in all the different rounds, and then we post the results. So the biologists and the scientists that have started this, they kind of use like a random number generator. They look at adaptations. They look at different skills that the animals have, because like the very first round, one of them was between like a wolverine and a hyena. So they kind of look at the strengths of each. Sometimes one just wins by the other one disappearing, or they can't find it. I mean, a bee was swatted and the bee lost in one of the rounds, but it's a lot of fun. And it's, March tends to be a lot of doldrums, so it gives the kids something to follow, especially if they're not into basketball. And this year we have a competition. We post the kids, so the whole school does it. They all submit their brackets, and the faculty does it as well. We were very proud this year that one of the biology teachers won the faculty round, because SPED has been showing us up for the last few years. But it's a lot of fun, and I share this with the middle school teachers, and one of the 6th grade teachers did it with all of his kids too. And he really found that they learned a lot, because they choose a lot of rare animals, so it's nice for the kids to kind of get a feel for. It's not technically all mammals, but that's okay. And then continuing to focus at the high school, I chose a couple of classes I thought you'd be interested to see some of the things they do. Lara Harris teaches a forensics class, which is very popular at the high school. One of their culminating events, it's a semester course, is that they have to basically investigate a mock crime scene. So this is done at the top of a stairwell in the high school, and it's very lifelike. She has to put up signs warning people that it's just a mock crime scene. But the kids come out in a team. They have to triangulate the whole scene. They have to take pictures of the evidence. They have to sketch it, and they apply a lot of the skills that they learned in the class to investigate the crime scene. This is a summative one. They do a little tabletop one ahead of time, but it's great. The kids really enjoy it. We've had a lot of kids go on to study forensics and/or criminal justice after taking this course, so it's a lot of fun for the kids who take it. And then the other one I wanted to mention was the genetics biotechnology class. Lindsay Reicheld teaches this class. And this whole second semester, she has had them working with axolotls, which are amphibians. They're very unique amphibians because they have both they both have lungs and gills. So they show a lot of very unique characteristics. And the genetics kids basically have to learn all about how to take care of them. They build a hatchery where they have to then mate them, and then they do the genetics of what types of traits were inherited by the offspring. They have to do the pedigrees for them, and they're responsible for feeding them, for taking care of them, for making sure the water concentrations are correct. I have a couple kids who take this class. They're in one of my classes, and one came in the other day who was all upset because his water concentration was off and he killed off a bunch of the little brine shrimp. But and even to the point that next week during the week off, some of the kids will come in and feed everybody's just to make sure that they're taken care of. And a lot of kids will take them at the end of the year. But Ms. Reicheld keeps a database of all the information, and she keeps the same axolotls, some of the parents, year after year, so that the kids can go back and look through the database of some of the information on the genetics. But the kids get very excited and very possessive of their axolotls. And then this year at the middle school, one of the things that we've been doing is we have had Athena K-12 come in to do an audit of our curriculum. Some of the goals we're looking for here is to give us some options for some new curriculum resources, especially as we move into one middle school so that everybody's on the same page using the same types of resources. We've also asked them to give us some feedback on what we can expect as we combine into one middle school, and then how we're doing supporting inquiry in our classrooms. So the people that have come in have observed all kinds of classes at every level in the middle school in science. They've interviewed all the teachers. They spoke to me. They spoke to the principals of the middle schools. They also attended our transition meeting with all of the science teachers from 6 to 12. So we're very excited about getting the report back and seeing what kind of information they can provide us as we move forward in the middle school as a department. And then I wanted to highlight one of the middle school science classes too. This was Dave Kajowski's class at Byrd, and these guys were building catapults. They were studying kinetic and potential energy. They were given a limited number of materials: cardboard, tape, rubber bands. They had to design it on paper with all of their measurements, and then they had to go, test it. It was to see how far it could toss a marshmallow. And they were really into the competition. And if it didn't throw it very far, they went back, they redesigned, they rebuilt, and they tried it again. So it was a really good skill for following the design process and then retesting each time. So one of the, I wanted to highlight some of the stuff that we've been able to receive from the capital budget. This is really a small portion of it. This torso down the bottom, if you can look at the movie up there at the top, you can see the kids hold their phone up to it and it almost becomes like a virtual reality thing where the organs will come out, and then like a scientist comes in and explains it. They can flip it around. It's really very cool. So that's one of the things we got for our anatomy classes. We've also been able to update all of our chemistry equipment, so the kids will be using all kinds of digital probes now for pH, for gas pressure, for temperature. We were able to purchase a bunch of new skeletons and muscles and anatomical models. In the lower right, that's a new Van de Graaff machine that we were able to get. And then today we just received a bunch of brand new air tracks for the physics classes. So we're really excited about where we can go with some of these new pieces of equipment. And then finally, did I turn this off? There we go. We're also preparing for our MCAS and AP exams that are upcoming, as Grace mentioned. We'll be doing the AP exams start the beginning of May, the AP Environmental Science, the Physics 1, the Physics 2, and the AP Biology. The high school MCAS will be the first week in June, so it'll cover 2 days, and that'll be for all the introductory physics classes based on all of their content this year. And then the middle school 8th graders will be taking their science MCAS in the middle of May, which will include all the content they've had since 6th grade. So we're spending a lot of time reviewing and wrapping up and preparing for those standardized tests. can I answer any questions?
Questions from Ms. O'Malley?
Well, this is a first.
Awesome. It's great to see your capital projects, and I know you're working very closely. We have a middle, high school project update a little later on, and I know you were very involved in talking about the physical space there, so we appreciate all the work you've done, and this is cool stuff.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. Our next order of new business is an FY24 budget vote for the edification of people at home. We began the budget process in November, early this year, as well, and enclosed in our packet is a budget sheet representing the difference between the school committee's, the initial budget we voted and the town administrator's budget, which is slightly lower than that. So, Mr. Fisher, a little background before we ask for a vote on this.
So I think I've walked through our budget throughout the process, as you mentioned, starting back in November. The budget that you're being asked to vote on tonight does not include the gap. We did not close the gap at this point. So it was a $209,450 gap, and we have reduced, in effect, the school committee's budget request to match the town administrator's budget. So it is a revised budget from what you had in your books originally. And it is minus, as I said, $209,450.
So this will be the budget we go to town meeting with. We'll probably not need to vote before the meeting then, unless something else changes.
Correct.
You can walk in with that. Excellent. Any questions from the committee? Fairly straightforward. Ms. Denizio.
I will make a motion to approve the FY24 comprehensive budget with the town administrator's recommendation of $53,297,050.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Denizio, second by Mr. Breen. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 400. Very good. Moving on to our assistant superintendent's report. We have Dr. William Hahn. Please.
All right, thank you. As you can imagine, I did work closely with Dr. Goff on this. You want to make sure we got everything in there. So we do want to start, we'd be remiss if we did not begin tonight to extend our sympathy to the families and community in Nashville. This is the first meeting we've had since that tragic event. As you're aware, Dr. Goff and I sent a letter to Walpole Public School families about this event. School is supposed to be a sanctuary of learning, and that sanctuary was violated in the Covenant School in Nashville. And like many of you here, many of our district and school leaders are parents of school and college-age children, and we keenly understand the trust parents place in school leaders to keep their children safe. This is a responsibility we take very seriously, and we're grateful to partner with our families, Walpole Police, the fire departments, and our entire community to ensure the well-being of all children within our schools. Principals have been sharing information regarding our safety protocols and our resources for families. If anyone has any specific questions, we do ask that you contact and start with your child's principal, and that's only because some of the questions are best answered by the uniqueness of each of the buildings. And our school principals and school resource officer, Tom Hart, will be addressing school safety at each of their upcoming PAC meetings. In fact, I know in some of the recent PAC meetings that's already happened, and that Officer Hart was able to attend as well. We'll continue to keep those lines of communications open and make sure that we address any parents or caregivers' concerns. An update on the Elm Street School Principal search timeline. The community should have received an email from myself and Mary Mortali extending an invitation, the Elm community, extending an invitation for parents who would like to participate on the interview committee. We posted the job in the first week of April, and we officially closed that job posting on April 20th. After the closing, myself and Dr. Goff will work together to screen the applicant pool to identify anywhere from 6 to 10 candidates who will continue on with an interview. Also, at this time, we have sent surveys out to all Elm Street school staff and all parents and caregivers of that community to make sure that we're getting input, not just from those who can attend and be part of the interview committee, but those families who may just want to fill out a survey and give us their feedback on what's important to them and what they value in a school principal. We plan on completing those interviews in the first week of May. We ask that the committee, made up of about 15 to 17 community members from teachers, parents, administrative staff, school committee members, make a recommendation of finalists that will meet with myself and Dr. Goff in the second week of May. We will then, after we've identified our finalists, provide further opportunity for parents and staff to meet with those finalists before making site visits if that's necessary, and we hope to make an appointment towards the end of May, with a start date to be negotiated around July 1. So that's an update on that process. It's obviously a really, really important process, and one that we do our very best to make sure we get a lot of community input. Strategic plan, as you all know, back in 2019, the school committee voted to approve the 5-year strategic plan. We are entering the 5th year of those 5 years. Included in the strategic plans are 4 goals and action steps related to these goals. Just as a quick reminder, those goals, goal 1 is rooted in curriculum, differentiated instruction, and assessment. Goal 2 is fostering social emotional well-being of school community in order to develop responsible and engaged citizens. Goal 3 is cultural proficiency and ensuring equity and inclusion for all. And goal 4 is to ensure that facilities and resources support student learning and well-being. So in your packets, you have both a red line version to see the changes that were made for this year and a clean revised copy. As a reminder, the yellow highlight indicates priorities as we go into this year, as that changes each year as we prioritize the goals and the action plans. We want to thank everyone who contributed to the plan. There is no vote needed for tonight, but if you have questions or feedback, please feel free to let me or Dr. Goff know. And if you haven't had a chance to review, there was a video sent that was meant to make it a little bit easier to kind of digest all of the changes and updates. A quick announcement about new communication system. It was noted at the last school last school committee meeting that Walpole Public Schools is transitioning to a new mass communication system. The new system will allow for improved messaging between schools and families for automated notifications of school absences, as well as more time-sensitive alerts like unscheduled school closings, such as a snow day. This week, one of the first steps of the transition was a welcome message that was shared via phone, text message, and email sent to the phone numbers and email addresses that family provide as Contact 1 and Contact 2 in our Aspen X2 portal. Walpole Public Schools will be using the new system to send automated attendance calls, as I noted earlier. If you find that the new system contacts through the call or text that you should have received this week went to the wrong contact or email address, please contact your child's school to let them know and provide updated information. So the rollout, this rollout went well, but we knew that there will be some adjustments as we go along. We just want to make sure that we get it right, and we depend on our families to help us do that. And finally, in your packet is a copy of calendar of senior events and a reminder that there is no school next week. I don't know, did you need that reminder, Mark?
No.
And that is it for the assistant superintendent update.
Questions for the assistant superintendent? Mr. Ahern.
I have 3. I was just curious. I love to see that there's a lot of surveying being on for the principal, for staff and parents. And I'm just curious how the results of the survey play into the process, how they'll be used.
Yeah, that's a terrific question. So 2 ways. We do think we do a really nice job on our interview, a very comprehensive interview committee of getting a diverse group of stakeholders, right? And so we feel confident that that group will make a recommendation that represents the best for the Elm Street school community. But we know that it's really important to make sure that we're hearing all voices, those who can't attend an interview committee at 4 o'clock. So what we typically do, which we have not done yet because the results are coming in, is we organize all the feedback that we have. And as part of my presentation and introduction to the potential candidates, we talk a little bit about those values. We actually will try to incorporate some of the themes into the questions that we ask, so it will impact the line of questioning that we ask our candidates. And then Dr. Goff and I, as we're interviewing and finalizing with our finalists, make sure that they match the things that are communicated in those 2 survey results.
That's great. And I think it's important to emphasize to the community that this, like you said, it plays an important role, and these surveys aren't just like a checkbox. Like, it's something that you guys actually do to inform the process and, make sure the candidate matches.
Yep.
So thank you for that. My second question is, I love all of the processes that's laid out here, and I'm just curious why this isn't always standard practice for hires for administrators on the building or district level.
Yeah, I think whenever we open up a principal position, We have, since in my history, we have always followed this format. This was adopted from actually, I believe, could have been Fisher the last time we went through this when we hired Mr. Bemis. So when we open positions, this is the format and schedule that we followed.
Gotcha. There's kind of, the middle school was not filled in this manner.
Yeah, I think that, that's a fair question, and I understand your question. I think the idea behind it is our goal is to find a highly qualified candidate that meets the needs of the community. And we know whether it's a school system or whether it's a corporation, at times we have that candidate right in front of us who's internal and can do the job well. And when we do, and we're fortunate enough to have that, we will make internal recommendations and internal transitions. It's not something we take lightly. We've had cases where sometimes an internal candidate isn't the best, but in this case, we really felt strongly that we had a highly qualified candidate who was ready and prepared and definitely qualified to do the job. And I'm very confident that we'll do the job very well.
Thank you for sharing that also. My other question was related to the strategic plan. I don't know if you want me to ask it or send it an email. It's nothing critical. I was just going to ask for some clarification in the coaching one. Like, I love how it's laid out, and I'm wondering if that was, I guess, two questions. Subject specific, and then there's percentages about access to coaching. And I was curious why those percentages were coaching. And I think the answer might depend on if there was a subject-specific nature to the coaching goal.
So the coaching, the goal, the action step, rooted in coaching, is intended to reflect the hires over the last several years.
Okay.
And one of the things,
All
I
right.
think I spoke a little bit about the coaching academy that we've run all this year, that one of the things that
Yes.
COVID kind of delayed was us to provide the really dynamic professional development to support our coaches. So now we've had this year to do that. Our coaches have always been coaching, but this is a little bit more of a how do I put that, a protocol or systems that will fall in place. And so one of the things we wanted reflected in the strategic plan is that, especially for our new staff, any staff within the first 3 years, we wanted to hit some percentages to ensure that our coaches are actually coaching. You know what I mean? Not giving advice, but actually going through what we call our impact cycle. And so that was actually one of my requests, that they would put a percentage in there to push us, so that at the end of the year we could see, well, what are our numbers? What's the percentage of our staff, non-professional and professional? So as part of our induction program, we will make a requirement that staff in their first 2 years, we are kind of fine-tuning exactly the quantity. But staff in the first 2 years will work closely with the coach, and we can do that because in induction programs you can encourage or push some things that are important to. So we want to utilize these incredible coaches in a way that's more thoughtful, and then also hold us accountable to the percentage and what we're looking to achieve of their contact with new staff.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. I love the detail that you guys have spent in creating that, and being able to hear how the rollout's been, what you guys are working with the teachers, to support them and create the capacity. It's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great practice to have in the district. Thank you.
I will, at the end of the year, we have our last coaching academy session in the first week in May. And I will take some time in one of our final meetings to just talk a little bit more about, we have put in a lot of time and really prioritized that, and I'm excited about what we've accomplished and how that will impact our coaching and impact cycles in the future. So I appreciate you asking about it.
Thank you.
John, thank you for the sharp questions. Ms. Goetz?
Yep, on goal 3, action steps on the strategic plan, I just want to encourage us to, where it talks about all stakeholders, include parents in there. Some of the topics that are being discussed in school across the country are concerning to parents, and it's very important that there's transparency and parents are notified, so that if something difficult or, something that their child may not be mature enough to quite understand, all viewpoints are presented, including what the parents feel is right. So I just want to make sure, because sometimes you get information flagged in an email, and then it gives the parent an idea of, okay, we're talking about something that I may want to follow up and ask questions about. I think that's just such an important piece of things, and parents sometimes feel left out of the discussion, and really we know our children the best and want to reinforce or, maybe put a different spin on lessons that are being taught in school, because after all, parents have used too. So I just think that's so important to include that in there too.
Great, thank you for that feedback.
Anything further on the strategic plan or other matters contained in the Assistant Superintendent's report? Seeing none, moving on to old business, number 1, section 6, will be the second reading of policies. 4 policies. All of these policies are, I would say, related to our financial best practices, our internal controls within the business office. These are all 4 MASC model policies. There's changes to now obsolete MGLs, now obsolete CMRs. So this, I would, if no one has any questions, I would characterize as housekeeping, this being our second reading, and entertain a motion to approve the new MASC model policies for DBJ, DI, DJ, and EFT.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Nizio, second by Ms. Gaotitz. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 400. Excellent. Our next order of business is the middle school building project update. Mr. Breen.
So the steel's going up. You know, within a few weeks, there'll be an actual frame. It'll look like a building, the beginnings of a building. So that's really the only major update that I can think of, unless anybody else knows anything that I don't. Mr. Hahn?
It's pretty powerful when you see that steel go up.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll kind of knock your socks off. It's
Right.
really neat, yeah.
Yep.
You haven't swung by to look at it.
I can already tell it's bigger than I
Yeah.
had imagined it.
Yeah.
Kind of looming over the existing school, so.
Any questions or other comments to Mr. Breen? Seeing none. High school renovation update, Mr. Ahern.
Yeah, I don't remember, have we met since we workshopped? I don't remember. Anyway, well, so we had a really informative workshop with TAPE to talk about their process and how the designs were coming. That was really informative. Since then, they are just working on the schematic design, which will be out, and some cost estimates towards the end of May. In the interim, providing an update for the town at town meeting on the goals of the project and what it's looking to accomplish in advance of, really bringing this to the community in the fall to inform them on everything.
Any other questions or comments about the high school? Thank you very much, Sean, for being part of that committee and giving us all these great updates of the work that we have going forward. Moving on to subcommittee activity, the only thing legislatively, the House Ways and Means budget did come out. It does include the governor's increased amount of Chapter 70, which she put in her budget, mostly funded by the millionaire's tax. This is good news. It's obviously got 2 months more to go, just like ours. Our budget has a month more to go, but we're tracking it closely. We're grateful to our legislative delegation for continuing that on the House side. There's a few more ups and downs, but I think that will be something we'll be looking closely at and have long-term impacts to the good for us as a district. So stay tuned, as our colleague Ms. Gallivan would say. Did any other subcommittees meet or questions?
So the Wellness Committee met,
Excellent.
which some of us, I don't know what our role is. We're there. But one of the things that I enjoyed hearing about today was Maria, our amazing director of food services. Well, I forget her title exactly, nutrition. But she has brought in a couple hydroponic stations to be placed at 2 of the schools to start growing seeds and hopefully be able to plant in some of the gardens that the schools have around. And it's just exciting that she's always looking ahead, and this is really going to help the kids to understand that, and hopefully as we have resources available going up, they'll be able to comprehend and jump right in. But just huge kudos to her continually, really.
Yeah. We all appreciate her effervescence as she kind of looks at the next thing in food service and nutrition. Any other subcommittees meet that I might be aware of? Seeing none, we'll move on to warrants, donations, and minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the following expense warrants for the amounts listed in your packet. Those are 223038 and 223039.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hearn, second by Ms. Denizzi. All those in favor, opposed, abstained, 400.
I'd also like to make a motion to approve the following payroll warrants for the amounts listed in your packet, and those are 2337 PA and 2339 PA.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hearn, second by Mr. Nizio. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 400. Someone like to take the gift donation approval?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the following gifts and donations to Old Post Road School from Pacific Life Foundation. 3 T's of education donation in the amount of $1,000. To Boyden School, Fisher School, Old Post Road School, and Johnson Middle School, Bay State Textiles Recycling in the amount of $325. To Boyden School from the John D. Langley Foundation, promoting diversity and equity and social and emotional development, $2,500. To Boyden School from State Street Foundation Incorporated, promoting diversity and equity and social and emotional development, $500. And to Walpole High School from William P. Duggan and Luz P. Duggan to benefit the Walpole High School PAC, $2,500.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Nizio, second by Mr. Breen. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 500. I'll count myself this time. Excellent. Moving on, approval of minutes. Would someone like to take the minutes? Mr. Breen.
I'll take them. I'd like to make a motion to approve the March 23rd, 2023 school committee meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Breen, second by Mrs. Nizio. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 500.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve the March 27th, 2023 school committee workshop meeting minutes.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Breen, second by Mr. Hearn. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 500. Mr. Breen.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Breen, second by Ms. Gaotitz. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 500. Thank you very much. Everyone have a safe and enjoyable April vacation.